Okay, hello. I have some books to talk to you about today. Both of these books have like a theology kind of vibe to them. This is Comfort Me with Apples by Catherine M. Ballantyne and A Short Stay in Hell by Stephen L. Peck. Now, I have read both of these books already, and I don't know, but to me in the past, hello, I have now finished A Short Stay in Hell by Stephen L. Peck. And Um, I don't really know, honestly. I'm just gonna tell you the summary, and then I'll tell you whatever went on. So this book starts with we get this like really like flowery written summary, and it's like basically being like, I searched for so many years looking for my book, blah blah blah, a bunch of other stuff. Then he talks about his one true love, how it made him, blah 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 blah. It's kind of irrelevant to be so honest, but so is the rest of this book, to be real with you. Um, I shouldn't be revealing this much this far in, but it was rough. And so from here we go to like a weird flashback of him being admitted into hell, and it's just him seeing all these other people being admitted into. What are you doing back there? Seeing all these other people being admitted into hell, right? There's one guy, he's a Christian because the real religion is Zoroastrianism. I think I said that wrong, and I'm sorry. But he gets mad. He's like, "No, I was godly." They send him somewhere. This other girl, she was a scientist. They send her somewhere. Then we get to our guy. They send him. He's like, "You like to read? Let me send you here." Not to mention, this version of hell is run by God. And then he wakes up in a library, an infinite library. I bet you couldn't guess that based on the cover. Um. Anyways, he wakes up in this infinite library. It's full of books. It's just like got a bunch of shit in it going on, right? And there's bathrooms, and then there's the bedroom, and then there's this kiosk. You can order whatever food you want at the kiosk. And I'm just gonna tell you now, it's a little bit of spoiler. Later, they discover that anything you can eat, you can order at the kiosk. So, I'm gonna prepare you now. I need you to hold on. It is going to be a bumpy ride. A lot's gonna happen. What happens is they discover that every book here is written, it has a certain page number, 410 pages, which means everything is split into volumes, right? And then we get just kind of general fluff. Most of these books are filled with gibberish because obviously every book ever written would have just like nothing in it. So they find a sentence. I don't remember the sentence, no idea. But this one guy, Biscuit, his name, question mark, I think that is. He freaks out. He is like, la la la, like, oh, he's going a little insane over finding this book. What happens is that he's Mormon, right? That's like his whole vibe. He drinks coffee. He's like, oh, I drank coffee. And then everyone gets blackout drunk. And then he meets this girl named Betty, who's the best character in this book, hands down. I thought she was very well written. So from here, what happens is they spend like 150 years together, but we're doing like a flash. This book feels like being thrown downstairs. So we get there, we're like, oh, and all of a sudden there's a university. All of a sudden it's been 150 years, there's a university, and this is not in like a normal flash way where you're like, oh, this is very jarring because it happens so many times. So we get here, they have a university, right? It's multiple professors, and every year they hold the best sentence. They take goat organs and they play stuff on them and like other stuff, and then they have this like beautiful meeting or whatever, and they present the book. Everyone's crying, and then they drop this weird plot in here, right? And I need to talk about this because I won't be able to talk about it later. So we're doing all this, we're reading this, right? And there, I kid you not, on the page, it's about this much. They drop this weird thing where they talk about across the library, where they talk about people who are murdering each other, like sexually assaulting each other, like just like overall chaos on the other side of the library. I cannot stress to you how little this matters. It is thrown in there for no reason, just put there, and then you're like, what the hell? And then they move on. And you're like, it comes back a little bit later, but not like, I just don't know. I really just don't know. Then we get told a story, which is what this book should have been. This part, I really like the story. It was about these groups of people going throughout the library and experiencing certain things. Very like annihilation coded kind of. And I wish the book was this. This would have been actually good, and I would not be sitting here telling you the things I'm telling you. But anyway, it's like people go upstairs, and they're just like, no, I won't stop. Like, they keep going. And essentially, our main character falls in love with this girl. Her name's Rachel. Rachel's like, fine, I guess. But anyways, they spend like 1,000 years together, and then this whole murder cult regime forms, and you're like sitting here thinking, girl, what the hell are you telling me? That's how it felt reading it. That's how it felt reading it. I honestly, like, the way I'm describing it to you is very similar to the way the book says it. It's not like, oh, I'm missing a lot of No, no, it just kind of happens. Honestly, this book is a lot of it just kind of happens. So then we switch to a point where they're hiding from this murder cult regime thing, which is actually an interesting point, but you're not ready how fast this is about to happen. It's gonna happen real quick. So they're running, they get caught. Oh shit, now Rachel jumped off the cliff. You're like, oh, what the hell's happening? And then Rachel's gone, mind you, not coming back. Then he's like crying or whatever, but we don't really understand the significance of this because we don't know who the fuck Rachel is. We don't understand the significance of this because we don't know who Rachel is, and you're like, okay, I guess Rachel's gone, but like, who the hell is Rachel? And then they take Rachel, you're like, oh, well, they don't take Rachel. And then they take the other guy, our main guy, whose name I don't remember. I'm being so loud, I'm so sorry for blowing your eardrums out. They take him, and they go, and he gets, like, beat, and they kill him every day under this bed, and mind you, before this, they said that torture they would inflict is something that you could never imagine, but if he's getting hit every single day and dying, they're not really torturing him. It's really confusing. Also, I forgot to mention that people in this world respawn, like Minecraft. Anyway, so, he has all this happen to him, right? And he is waking up like every couple seconds and then being killed again. And I thought this part was actually decently well written. I don't understand the comparisons before this of saying that it was torture that you could never imagine when obviously this isn't the worst thing that someone could imagine. But anyway, he gets up and they like take him and they're like, you can become part of our team. So they take him and he's talking to the leader, and for some reason the guards conveniently leave. Would they leave their supreme lead? That's not registering to me. And before, also, they said this clan was like a form of like 3,000 people or something. I think it was actually just like 1,000. I think it was actually like 20,000. Anyway, so they like leave their guard guy alone, which was so weird to me. But anyways, he tackles him off the cliff. The guard guy's falling with him. They're falling into infinity or whatever. And then from here, the guy falls, he breaks his neck, like the guy breaks our main guy's neck, and he falls away, we don't see him again, and then our guy decides that he's going to try to get into the library. He does it, with, like, he tries to fly in, but he gets, like, his legs and arms get messed up, he dies a few times, and then he makes it into the library with, like, his arms and his legs mashed up. So, he wakes up, this guy comes, saves him, he takes him to a bed, he finds out that this guy has, oh god, guys, this is a rough one. This is the roughest one since the first video. So anyway, he finds out that this guy, right, is been searching, coming down the stairs. He didn't want to jump off, but he's coming down the stairs, right? And he tells him that there's people upstairs who can, like, I guess tell him about what's going on. He goes upstairs, he meets this guy, Mr. Something. This guy tells him that essentially that he would have to go down further, like in the library, than there is electrons in the world. Like, it would take him, it's like light years and light years and light years of time, long amount of time to get down to the bottom. And then we get a lot more fluff, and then basically what happens is the ending of this book, I know you're surprised, we're already at the ending. The ending of this book is just a lot of him, like, it's him falling, and, like, going and finding the books. We don't get to see him make it out, but that's just, like, essentially what it is. And you know what's more annoying than anything to me? How mediocre the ending was. Okay? The book was not good. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It wasn't good. But the ending wasn't bad, which was so weird for me. Okay, I need to get into this is my review. This is going to be so long, dude. Okay, so first things first. I don't even know where to start, honestly. Oh, first things first. This thing is 104 pages, right? Very short, very short. Actually, 90% of it is so, well, I wouldn't say 90. 70% of this is so genuinely nothing. It is so genuinely copy and pasted sections of like, and they're not actually copy and pasted. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not accusing him of that. They're actually feel copy and pasted. It's like the same three things. It's something to do with his religion, something to do with white people, and we'll get to that, or something to do with books. And these are the same three things. And you might think, well, there's variation. No. No, 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 no. Say the same three things about these three things. Okay, next. The beginning of this book does a lot of lore dumping, and honestly, I have gotten to the point after reading this that I don't even give a shit about that. I don't even care. Because, right, the beginning of the book does all this lore dumping, but then you're like, okay, well, now we're getting into the actual story. No, 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 no. The entire, and I say the entire story is lore dumping. I can think of probably 3 times they speak. And they're always in these really, really short times. And it's not like it's just like, it's a lot of this happened and then this happened. This book is actually so tell and not show. I like the perspective change. At the beginning, it starts in first person, then it changes to third, then it changes to first. I thought that was cute. I thought that was nice. I think Stephen L. Peck is not a bad writer. I just think this book is poorly designed. I think there needed to be some sort of storyboard or something going on because I don't know what the hell's going on. The actual writing is very easy to get through. It's not like awful. It's just the fluff. Like the idea of people trying to pray in this book and then like you can't pray because the God you believed in isn't there anymore. Okay. This book holds your actual hand. Like, I swear to you, I could read this. I could read 10 pages of this and understand the whole story. Because if it's going to bring something up, right? But it's going to tell you exactly how and when that happened to bring it back up. So, like, it'll be like, oh, this happened. And then you're like, okay, yeah, like, I remember that from earlier. It'll be like, but you remember this from earlier. And then it's just like, okay, then why the hell did I remember that from earlier? It doesn't matter to remember anything in this book because it will literally give you a review. Like, I feel like every time I'm reading it, I'm getting like, on last season. The main guy's Mormon, right? And I think it discusses Mormonism interestingly-ish. But I think if your main character is going to be Mormon, I think you would need... I don't know if Stephen L. Peck is Mormon, but I think if your main character is going to be Mormon, there's going to be a lot more than just coffee and alcohol going on in his head. And there's a lot of sections over-explained about his religion that I didn't like because it's just the same section, copied and pasted. But I honestly think if you're going to make your main character Mormon, that is an interesting perspective. You could do that. But why is it so baseline? It's like the 3 things people know about Mormonism. Another thing, the characters in this, except for Betty, are so hard to tell apart. I am being so real with you. I don't remember the main character's name. I only know Rachel because we talk about her for about 90 pages. Not 90 pages, like 40. I only know Betty because she was actually memorable and she was literally in 1 paragraph. And I know who Biscuit is because he was decently memorable. Every single other character in this book, I could not tell you anything about them. Genuine. Like, they are so flashed. It's like characters in this book are put into this book just to be there and then disappear. And the weird thing is, too, they don't even serve a purpose. Well, I mean, some of them do. Like, the final guy serves a purpose. And the final guy serves a purpose. But other ones are just there and they walk and they're like, hey, and then they disappear. And you're like, okay, you know. And I know it's supposed to show the hell, like, years on years and years. I would have rather this book than something like a brief section of his stay in hell, and then just keep that, just give all those characters, and then move on. You know what I'm saying? You could end it the same way. But, like, okay, imagine, right, we start with this cast of characters. We survive, they die one by one, and then we get to the end, and then it's just him, and you could have the same ending. That would have been so much more interesting than what whatever the hell's going on here, even with the respawn system, right? It's just like what happened to Rachel, right? She got lost. That could have happened to other characters. It's just we waste so much time on this fluff. I felt like I was rating this and I was just like are am I crazy? Because what do you mean he's like getting food from the kiosk for like 5 pages? I'll give a compliment now to be nice. And because I actually do like this. I think this book is very good at showing a breakdown. I was very impressed by that. Specifically when it comes to Biscuit, like his breakdown with that book that I mentioned, that was really well written, and I do appreciate that. I like Betty the best. I just think she's the best. I honestly just, I just, that, if every character in this book was like Betty, I would have loved this book. But I just don't know. But anyway, in this book, right, there is, and this is on the first page, they talk about how you can rewatch your life, right? But in it, they complain that they can't listen to music, right? But, in theory, you could listen to music because if you can rewatch your life, you can listen to every single song that you've ever listened to, right? And then he was like, and then the weird thing about this was, right, he talks about this, and then the next page is a contradiction of him being like, well, there's not enough songs. But you just said you couldn't. And then he's like, I would appreciate this sound right now. Then go into your memory library. I'll give another compliment. I like the world building. I thought the world building was decent. Except for there's one section that I brought up in the summary about across the library, which didn't really, you know. But overall, I thought it was okay. Okay, another thing. This book is heavily praised for being this grandiose horror novel, something that's absolutely dreadfully terrifying. I don't see it. I'm so sorry. It just doesn't make sense to me. I read this whole thing front to back, and there was probably not a single time where I felt any bit of tension, where I felt literally I never felt any tension, and I never felt any fear. I saw a lot of people commenting on Goodreads being like, a guy goes around and does something and then figures something out. That's literally how it felt. Or people being like, I just don't understand this. And that's how I felt. I know I'm in, like, not in the majority of people in this situation. But, like, I don't understand it. The thing we have to talk about that is, I find really weird. Okay, so in the novel, they're trying to show the blandness of hell. Also, this metaphor is very shoved in your face and then, like, put in your mouth and, like, through your nose. Like, they really want you to understand what's going on. It starts and then they just slowly tell you throughout the book what the metaphor is supposed to be about. Anyway, so the whole idea is that everything's bland, and they're like American white people, I don't know why I put up another finger. American white people who speak English are the only people in this thing, right? So, right, in assuming that is the blandness, the mediocrity, do you assume that being white is the baseline race? Do you see what I'm saying? I want to talk about this. Why is the book shaped like this? Like, no shade. But I would have rather it been a few pages longer and not this weirdly shaped. Even when I was reading it, it was like kind of weird to read. This is like not, like, this is just kind of, I don't know, it's just a weird shape. I also haven't seen books shaped like this. Felt very like picture book to me. Not like, I'm not trying to come for the book. Like, also the art's beautiful, I have to say that. But anyway, I thought the art was really beautiful here, so I do like that, and I like the fonts. But, I don't know why it's shaped like this. I remember when I got this, I was very like, oh, you know? But, okay, this is gonna be my wrap up. So, there's no way I've been recording for almost 35 minutes. Okay. So, I just want to say a few things. This fluff needed to be taken out. However, if the fluff was taken out right, I think this needed to be longer. This should not have been a novella. It should have been way longer. It should have been at least 320. Like, it's just not... There's not enough time in this for Stephen L. Peck to do what he wants to do. You can even tell how rushed it is in the way when you read it. And then the fluff doesn't help. And then I have another, like, clashing perspective. I think this was a short story originally, and then he just filled it with all this other stuff, like the fluff, to make it into a full novella. And I honestly think one or the other. Take out the fluff and add more actual content into it and make it a full book, or take out all the fluff, combine the good parts, and make it a short story. I think this is the most unideal form that this book could possibly be in. I already talked on this a little bit, but I really think this book needed to be planned. It's just, it feels to be very sloppily, like, planned. It's just like, this happened, then this happened, oh my god. And I just don't feel like it was sat down and like really thought about. And then I want to talk about how many people love this book. I support you if you love this book. And I think if you really, really immerse yourself in the world, I can see that. It's just, it didn't work for me. I don't get it. And also, I saved this book because I saw the reviews. I held on to it for a while because I wanted to really sit down and read it in one sitting. And now we have this video. So, you can see how that went. I like the concept. I expected a lot more than what I got. And then my media comparison for the day is also my final thought. So, we remember Suicide Squad 2016, right? Not the greatest movie. This is that. And you're ready for my explanation. So, right, we remember that movie. But then they released The Suicide Squad. And everyone forgot about this movie. This is the ending for this book. This is exactly how this book felt to me. My cat's snoring. It starts with this really, like, weird intro, right? And then it's really, really weird throughout the entire book, and it's just kind of not the greatest. And then you get to the end, right? And the end is not bad. It's not as bad as the rest of the book. I would even say it's close to good. That is exactly why people, I think, like this book. Because by the time you get to the end, you're so, like, not remembering anything that happened before because it's all forgettable, that you're like, oh, this was great. That's my theory. I really think that's what happened, and I also think that the ending is literally how this book should have ended. Like, no matter who wrote it, no shade. But, yeah. So, my final review, give me a drum roll, please. 2 to 2.5 stars, honestly. I'm honestly feeling closer to a 2, but I will say 2.5 because I do think that there is some decent quality here. And I don't want... My thinking is, I don't want to put it as low as The Fisherman, but I don't want to put it as high as We Love You, Bunny, so it's going to go straight in the middle. So, yeah. That was this. Yay! This was definitely a start to making this video. But anyways, back to me in the future. Hello. I have now finished Comfort Me with Apples by Catherine M. Ballantyne. And, to say I'm baffled is an understatement. But I'll give you my summary. So, basically what happens is we open with this setting. This, like, cut off, gated neighborhood. Keep in mind, it's gated. And it's called Acacia Garden, or I'm just gonna say Acacia. Or no, it's Arcadia Gardens. And there's a bunch of rules, and it's like, you can't leave, you can't do this, you can't do that. Then we meet our main character, Sophia. She's just, like, in her house, and there's a lot of this, oh, she's so small, she's so tiny, she's so this, she's made for her husband, like, all this other stuff, right? And then, it's so much of that. When I tell you, like, actually, like, that is, like, literally, like, 30 pages. And then she goes to a store. And all of this, she's doing a whole lot of nothing. Reading this, she's just, like, walking. It's, like, literally, like, just her doing absolutely nothing. Same thing with this book. It's just a whole lot of... They walk around, and they do stuff sometimes, and maybe. Anyways, what happens next is that she goes home and she finds this locked drawer. And she's like, girl, who locked this drawer? I don't lock drawers in my house. Then she opens it, she finds hair in it and, like, a brush, and the brush smells like of death and flesh or whatever. And here's the thing, right? Why would you put that in there? Because now that you put that in there, girl, I already know the whole story. And I didn't know the whole story then, but I already have an idea of what's going on, you know what I mean? And that's, like, not that far into the book. But... who knows, you know? And then she goes to her friend's house, and she chalks it up to horsehair, which kind of pissed me off, because Why wouldn't she think that in the first place? Why did she have to go to her friend's house to figure out that this was horsehair? Why wouldn't she just automatically assume that? And then also, she goes to her friend's house. We're about to get into a whole lot of whatever the hell's going on. So when she gets to her friend's house, there's a knock at the door, and she brings gifts for all of her friends, right? And the knock at the door, this guy walks in. His name is Mr. like Sangloff or something like that. But anyway, he comes in. His neck like breaks when he walks in. And he sings this song. It's all angelic. She's like, oh, and then they open their gifts. It's like blood and like hearts and stuff. And then she like leaves, goes home. Once she gets home, she's sitting on her couch, and then this crane breaks into her house, and it like looks like him. Mind you, heavy-handed metaphors in this book. The hand is so heavy, it's literally like falling through the earth. Like I don't know. Anyway, so he breaks in the house, and then her husband comes home, and he's like, my wife, and then they go out to the movie theater after he makes fun of her for having a social life, which is really weird. I mean, I guess later it kind of clarifies it, but I don't know. They go to this theater, and then the play is about her. The whole play is just her coming to town, like her living her life, and then once the play's over, her and her husband gets up, and Mr. Sangloff or whatever, they get up, they look at each other, and they walk out. And then she meets this other girl, and she's like, do you understand what's going on? And she's like, no. And then she goes home after her husband basically tells her that he's not going to be home for a while, like kind of fights with her a little. She goes home, she like goes to her entire house, which I actually thought was an interesting, like it's a very basic trope or whatever, but I actually find it still fun. I don't know. And after she goes through their whole house, she finds like a bunch of body parts, and she's like, what the hell? And then she goes out to the park. Okay, and I want you to hold on, because I'm about to tell you some crazy ass information. So she goes to the park, right? And she meets this like serpent. And by this point, I was starting to like clock what was going on, but I just like was like, okay, but like, you know? And then the serpent's like, here's an apple. You might be thinking, oh, this sounds very similar. Yeah, it is a Adam and Eve retelling. And I didn't set out to make this book about like theology, but I didn't set out to make this book. I didn't set out to make this video about like theology and books, but that's what it's going to become, because originally it was supposed to just be short books. I guess I just picked two books that had the same vibe. But anyway, the serpent gives her an apple, and I actually thought the serpent was an interesting character, but the serpent gives her an apple, and then she eats it. She's like, oh, I have all this knowledge. And then she goes home, and her husband's like, my name is Adam. And you're like, okay. And then he tells her about how he's killed all these women trying to get the perfect wife, and that God, aka his dad, is like being like saying all this stuff or whatever. And then a woman made it out, and she's like out in the world or whatever. They got all angry about that. Anyway, he kills her, and then the end of the book is Eve waking up, right? Showing like the final thing. Now, I've got a lot to say. I don't know what the actual was going on in this entire book. Okay, we started it, right? And I was like, this is, I don't know. Literally, that's my whole vibe. We started, I was like, okay, this could be interesting. And then you're reading it and you're like, okay, the writing's not great, the similes are bad, but at least the story's going to be good, right? And then as you start to kind of realize that it's a religious retelling, by the time that she brought up the fact that the crane was an animal, I was like, oh, we're going to do that, aren't we? But so once you start realizing it, you're like, okay, but like, how is this going to work? And then it just happens, and you're like, what the hell? And then another aspect to this, I watched a video on this book, and I remembered it once I finished reading it. Weirdly enough, I think the brain rot is getting to me. I have finished a whole video about this book, and I didn't remember it. I don't know. And I know that, like, it's heavily based towards religious people or whatever, but I grew up religious, so I think I can kind of clock it. And I started to. Even if you understand it, right? Even after like fully processing what was going on, like re-understanding it, connecting it, right? It still is like the people are the animals, blah 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? The tree, you can't go near the tree because that's where the serpent is. There's a whole rule about the tree that you can't go, oh, the serpent's there. You know what I'm saying? But I don't understand why we started it the way we did. Right? Okay, now I'm going to get into like my whole everything. That was just like my I'm not sure what the hell's going on. Okay, first things first, I want to talk about this whole aspect of she's so tiny and delicate. Obviously, the book is talking about like, oh, like God made her so that Adam would be stronger over her, like this stuff, right? Which I understand. But, is there not another way to show that? Like, okay, this is just my opinion. I feel like playing into like stereotypes, right? Playing into stereotypes is not the correct way to go about writing it, right? Because instead of doing this, oh, she's so tiny, she's so petite, she's made for him, you could have been like, she forgets things, she struggles, her memory's not great, you know what I'm saying? Things like that would have been more conducive to what was actually going on, rather than just making me think the entire book that you were just weird. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand. I understand the purpose, right? That's not what I'm saying. I get why Catherine Valentine wrote it that way, but I don't understand why that was the choice, if I'm making sense. I just feel like we could have done a whole separate thing that we didn't have to play into the idea that women are weak. We could have done something else. Outside of the story, the writing is just not good. It's just not good. The similes are actually awful. So bad that when I would see one, I would be like, what? Like, there was so many times where I was reading this book and I was holding it like this, like just thinking. Okay, first one that I have a few that I want to pull. First one is black is a secret. Another one is like as ripe in a green almond. What? Like, I'm gonna have to cut so much silence out of this. What do you mean? Like, genuinely, like, the similes are just bad. They're really bad, and when I read, I am hoping that I won't notice them. When I notice them is when I know they're not super great, and the only other thing is if you notice them because they're good. But these I noticed because they were really bad, and they just also didn't really make sense in the context of what was happening. Like, I would be reading it, and they would be walking, and then, for example, they'd be like, black is a secret, and you'd be like, what? Like, what? Like, what are you saying? I just, I don't know. I like the setting. I thought the setting was interesting. I'm just kind of pissed that it ended up being the Garden of Eden or whatever. Because the setting originally, I was like, oh, this is like, you know what I mean? Very like Stepford Wives, like interesting, could be interesting in terms of things. But then also nothing really happens. But anyway, I like the setting. That's what I'm trying to say. Before it turned into Garden of Eden. The other thing is all of the foreshadowing, if you will, or the metaphors, or whatever the hell, is actually so heavy-handed. Like, genuinely, when you're reading it, like, it'll be like, she was made for him. And it says it like 50 times. And I'm like, okay, now I know. Now I realize what's going on. And you just piss me off. It's like everything that it brings up, it never brings up an interesting new point. It is very similar to Short Stay in Hell. It feels like all of the metaphorical aspects were copy and pasted and moved. Like, it's the same freaking four things, and it doesn't build tension, it just pisses me off. Another simile I thought I'd give you, like a spoon tapping on an egg. Girl. And then another thing, this book contradicts itself. Even if we're talking outside of like the big reveal, it still contradicts itself regularly. Like, it'll be like, oh, she thought this, but then she realized, and then you're reading it and you're like, okay, but like, okay, here's my perspective. Another one, this book starts as like a Frida McFadden, like, oh, she's murdering people, and then it transitions into a poorly written, cosmic horror trying to be, not understanding what it takes to write. That's how I felt. I don't think it's good. It's really not. And the funny thing is, I'm already giving this, but I have so much more to say. The tension in this book is so bad. So bad, so bad, is so bad. When you're reading it, specifically when Mr. Falgonoff, or whatever his name is, comes in and breaks his neck or whatever and starts singing, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't make sense. Because without the context, right, of it being the Garden of Eden, right, you're just confused. You're just wondering what's going on, and not in a good way. In a way that's just genuinely like, okay, I get that, but why is all this happening? You know what I'm saying? And I get the big reveal is supposed to be that now you understand what's going on. But the thing is, I just didn't. Like, I was like, okay, I get that, but at the same time, why is the tension so lackluster? You know what I'm saying? And honestly, it feels like I transitioned between two stories. Like, the first half, again, is just like a bad thriller, and the second is like this weird cosmic horror-esque, like, I don't know. I think this did have potential, but it just baffled me. Like, genuinely, it baffled me to a degree I didn't think I could be baffled. And then another thing, this book was unintentionally hilarious to me. Like, I would read it and start laughing because of how, like, kind of stupid it was. Like, it would say stuff and I'd be like, okay, but, like, that's just dumb. Like, that's just stupid. Like, and I don't have as much to say, honestly, about this as I did for A Short Stay in Hell. Because at least A Short Stay in Hell, like, made me feel something, even if it wasn't, like, a great feeling. This just confused me. Like, I feel like I spun around 30 times, and then this novel was just, like, inserted into my brain. Another thing, I think this novel should have been first person. I think it would have been way, way, way better if it was first person. Because, I just don't... I guess it's not a novel, but you know what I'm saying. I don't understand why it's not first person. It just doesn't make sense. Like, I understand for the aspects of telling things, but it should have been first person entirely, and I wish it would have been. Because I think that would have made the breakdown a little bit easier, just writing in general a little bit easier. The third person makes it more difficult, or it could have switched between. Another thing, I think this book takes way too many liberties for such a tiny, tiny little book. It wastes so much time, even if we give the story, like, the nuance, so to say, that it wanted to be read with, it still wastes majority of the runtime just saying dumb stuff. And then on top of that, just, like, trying to build mystery when none of it ends up getting answered at all. Like, none of the things that you would think would be answered get answered, and it's all just, like, this blanket, oh, this is what happened. And then you're like, okay, like, I guess, but, like, I was honestly more interested in the original story than I was in this blanket being like, oh, it's God. I understand this retelling, right? Like, but I just don't think it had much new to say. Like, I get, it's like, oh, she was made by him. But we've also kind of known since the beginning that he's kind of not a great person, right? Because Eve is supposedly, obviously, made from God, right? So why would we retell it with just him having multiple versions of her? He's still a bad person either way. I just feel like it didn't have much to add on an already kind of overspoken about topic. I just felt like, right, after reading 50-ish pages, when it started to, like, transition into, like, it was, like, probably page 60, when it started to transition into, like, oh, it's, like, God, then I just felt like a waste of time. Because why did I read the first half? Like, the reveal just didn't feel like anything to me. All of the reveals in this book just felt very, like, lackluster. Just all of the reveals were just, like, not good. Like, just not... I don't know. I just, like, can't. And then also, I think the plot twist kind of fixed it, kind of didn't. I'm just real confused with this book, honestly. The writing, though, is still bad no matter what. Honestly, I just think that no matter which way we put it, the writing is bad. Like, I can't stress that enough. The similars are bad. The storytelling is not great. It wastes a lot of time on things that aren't important. It kind of tells you everything you need to know. Every single foreshadowing is put in your face and basically handholds you through it. It's just not good writing in general. And then this attempt to change and make it something different didn't work for me at all. I just don't think that it's just not good, and it's just like honestly like brain numbing to read. I like the original concept, and I just wish that we wouldn't have turned this into some like God fearing book. But then again, the writing is still bad either way. So I don't know. Honestly, I'm just a baffled out of 10. Like, I really am a baffled out of 10. Like, I just don't even know what to say about this. My media comparison is gonna be Eden. It's a show where they like go to an island and they figure a bunch of stuff out. But after like fully finishing it, this isn't really like that. But that's my comparison. This is definitely the most confusing book I've ever read. 2 out of 10. After reading this, A Short Stay in Hell actually looks a whole lot better. Anyways, that's my video. I read both these books, and they were both pretty bad. But I am not a writer, and I probably couldn't write better, so yeah. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for making it to the end and watching my struggle. Yeah, okay. Bye.